Hi, my name is Jeremy Bird, and today this video is Fly Fishing Made Easy. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know for the beginner fly fisherman to get started. When you first hit the river, it's important to come with proper equipment so that you have a balanced fly rod. So when your fly does hit the water, it gives it the most presentable, presentable fly to the fish. First, when trying to choose the proper equipment, it is important to start out with the proper rod. When you're looking at rods, and today I'm mainly going to talk about the proper equipment for panfish, bass, and trout. So when trying to pick out the proper rod, you normally always want a rod that's between 8 and 9 foot in length, always. The thing is, you want a big enough diameter so it has enough backbone to fight the fish you're going after, but at the same time you want it to have not too large of a diameter so that it's a fun fight for you out there fishing. So this rod right here is 9 foot 5/6 weight, and that's what I would recommend for anyone just trying to get into the sport. One of the next things on my equipment list is you want to choose the proper reel. You want a reel that can be changed from right-handed to a left-handed person. Then also at the same time, you want to pick the proper reel that has generally a clicking drag. That's best off for trout, panfish, or bass. But then say if you were going to go after a fish such as a steelhead or a salmon, you want to have a reel that has a disc drag that gives a little bit more resistance to the fish, and they're a little bit better made. They won't wear out as easily. Next thing I'm going to talk about on my equipment list is my main line right here, which is this green line. They normally come in about like 90-foot sections or so, and generally you want to pick a color that your eye can pick out in the water, so you always know where your line is when it hits the water. I like green the best. It kind of, matches the river color a little bit more, blends in. Next thing is my leader. This is this right here. It's connected to my fly down at this end. If you can see, it's connected to my main line right there. Generally, when you're fishing for panfish or bass, you only need about a 7.5 foot leader. But if you're going to go trout fishing, I would recommend getting around a 9 foot leader. It gives it a little bit more distance between the end of the fly and the main line. So I think, and then we got our fly down here. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I like dry flies the best. I think it presents what a trout or a panfish or bass sees most naturally. These float, they do not sink, so you just want to cast upstream and let them drift down. Another type of fly is a nymphs. They're the beginning stage of pretty much the dry fly. They're the larvae stage, and they're a little bit more suspended down the water, but I like those also best because that's something that trout, panfish, or bass see all the time. So now that we talked about our equipment and you're able to at least have a little bit of knowledge when trying to pick a balanced rod and reel, I'm going to talk about casting today. So step one, when trying to learn how to cast, you want to get your feet about shoulder width apart. You want to have maybe your knees bent a little bit, but whatever feels comfortable to you. Then step two, you're going to take your, one second. Good. Step two, after you get your feet in nice good position, step two, you're going to want to take your dominant hand and grab the cork right here above the reel, and you're going to want to have a nice tight grip of something that feels comfortable to you. And step three, you're going to take your non-dominant hand, grab your main line, you're going to pull out a couple feet to get started. You got to make sure that the main line and the leader are beyond the end of the fly rod eye, the last eye. Otherwise, when you try casting, it's going to get caught up, and that's kind of what you just had to see me. I made a mistake just a second ago. So then, step 4, you're going to want to move your arm back and forth to get the fly up in the air. Just like this. I'm just going to move my arm back and forth, get the fly up in the air. Then step 5, once it's up in the air, I use my non-dominant hand to keep pulling a little bit more line out. And then once I feel pretty comfortable, I'm going to keep going to the 10 to 2 position right here. The 10 to 2 position really gets your fly dragging out nicely. I'm going to continue pulling a little bit more line. And then step 7, what you're going to want to do, you're going to make sure that you stop and pause at the 10 o'clock position. And once you hit that 10 o'clock position, then after about 1 second, a little pause, you want to drop your rod down to the water. You want to ensure that your leader and your fly roll out past your main line. This will ensure that your line doesn't get tangled up, and it will ensure that it presents the best drift for the trout. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause at the 10 o'clock position and drop it. And you see there, I cast it upstream a little ways, and my leader and my fly rolled out past my main line. So then, step 8, you're going to want to repeat, I believe, steps 4 through 7 as many times as necessary until you catch a fish. So then, now that you got the casting down, another thing that we're going to talk about is trying to choose like the proper fishing location. And when trying to choose the proper fishing location, generally when you hit a river per se, like what we're on today, we're on a nice, beautiful bend right here. It's fairly deep, probably anywhere from like 6 to 8 foot in depth. The trout and bass love hiding in great places like this right here. And if you're fishing on, say, a river that doesn't have very good like bends on it, there's a lot of straight shots, you want to look for structures such as this right here. Generally the fish like to hide up underneath it or on the back sides of it. It provides good cover for them. Then there's these things called eddies, which are right here. The water's flowing around and it creates a back swirling motion on the water. So fish like that spot right there because it's a great spot where the food kind of just flows around. So I just suggest trying to fly fish in these eddies or nice good bends. And next, I'm going to talk a little about safety issues when you hit the river. You generally always want to make sure that you're wearing waders. I like waders a lot because if I want to, say I get hung up, I can walk on the river and I can unhook my line. And it helps keep me warm and dry. Another thing about safety issues, I'd recommend having good boots with good traction. A lot of times if you're fishing rivers that have a lot of slippery rocks, you can get bottoms that have felt on them, helps provide better traction. And if you're fishing in an area where, say, it's really slippery and there's really slippery rocks, you can even get bottoms that have studs, like steel metal studs, and that'll even provide more traction for you. So in conclusion, I think that I provided all the necessary information for someone who doesn't know anything about fly fishing to try to go out and get started, and I'd like to wish you the best of luck. So have fun fishing out there.